The morality of the viewer. This video contains spoilers for the following: gushing over magical girls, Mushoku Tensei, and bunny girl senpai. This idea has been in my mind for a while now, and it's Twitter's fault. I feel like at some point between Filthy Frank and the Dream SMP, the internet decided that it should call out everything that is bad with no exemption. And when it comes to the arts, and specifically shows they didn't care about any context, and just unilaterally tried to remove any and all viewership from them. Even saying that anyone who enjoys these shows should be shunned. And honestly, very simply, this should raise a question. Is the viewer entitled to project their morals onto and then judge a show? And that's obvious. Yes, they can. The harder question is, can they allocate what is right and wrong? And Twitter, you are shit at this. One of my favourite shows I have watched this year has been the amazing magical girl show known as Gushing Over Magical Girls. It is about a girl who really likes the 3 magical girls in her city. She then runs into one of the mascots thingies, I don't know what they are, who then gives her magical powers. This makes her one of the villains of the magical girls they have to fight. The girl wastes no time and immediately BDSMs them. Yeah, she really likes those girls. This show has a wide array of characters, and none of them have their age explicitly stated. The closest we get is with the youngest, and other than her, every character gets put into sexual situations on the regular. The absurdity of the situation is why I liked it so much. I thought it was really funny. One of my favourite YouTubers believes the same thing. He finds the entire show incredibly entertaining, but everyone he watched it with had the same feeling of ickiness from enjoying it as much as they did. Specifically, his wife mentions this. This is exclamation point, by the way. I love the dude. I'm not judging you or your wife, by the way. Because the concept of this is dubious from their standards. But from the creator's standards, it's fine. I'm not getting into this, but like, obviously we know. We know how anime creators are. Not only is this kind of stuff very common in anime, if not to a ridiculous degree it is in this one, it also fits the laws of their country. This isn't the be-all and end-all, because all around the world there are very wrong laws, but yet again, that's from my standards. Well, from the popular standard. Fucking pedophile. I'm not gonna be racist. Just like how from the creator standards, gushing over magical girls is completely fine. The issue with Explanation Point and his wife and his friends is that they absolutely enjoyed the show. Which is where the conflict happens. From my point of view, that is overcomplicating something so simple. If you enjoy something and it isn't harming anyone, there is no harm in it. Yes, that's the way they feel, but I'm not talking about them anymore. They have no control over that feeling of ickiness, so I don't expect them to completely ignore it. But to go out of their way to put something down because you enjoy it is a little controversial and is untrue to yourself. Not saying they did that, they did not do that. And it's letting yourself be peer pressured into believing something you may not truly believe in. Yeah, still not talking about Explanation Point. He didn't say any of this. It's just that. It's just an anecdote. In a similar vein, the comments about Mushoku Tensei are very overly dramatized. Mushoku Tensei is a show about a guy who spends all day inside, gets kicked out of the house on the day of his parents' funeral, and gets hit by a truck as he attempts to save some teenagers. He is then reborn in a fantasy world with magic and dragons and bad bitches. The issue a lot of people took with Mushoku Tensei was the character of Rudius Grey Rat. Rudius Notos Grey Rat. Rudy isn't a good person and is most definitely a groomer. Yep. Legally. Give. Oh god, there's a fucking rock here. There's the rock! He's a groomer. He specifically says in his mind that he's gonna groom Sylphie. Not in those words, but he said it like that. But the issue with all of that is that the show itself treats it as something incredibly wrong. The second a very vile person, well, he's not that vile, in Paul Greyrat, the dad, realizes that the relationship between Rudy and Sylphie is going in a very wrong direction, he ships out Rudy to his cousin's house to work as a teacher at the age of, 9. The show is consistently telling us that Rudius Greyrat's actions aren't very good. His sexual tendencies were put onto someone else, and they immediately trapped Rudy underground in a way to get someone to show up. Even in Volume 10 of the light novel, the only one I own, his inner monologue is absolutely disgusting. But what I see is people seeing his actions and putting zero context over them, then complaining that they are going unquestioned. That's like taking a soldier shooting someone out of the context of a war, then complaining that they shot someone. Or like seeing a sex scene and taking the context that is consensual and then saying one was assaulting the other. It's a stupid action that leads people away from really good shows because they believe that it's the work of a fiend, that people are willfully ignoring the focus on the pretty bread animation. It also brings forward the mentality of ignoring context and saying just doing a bad thing makes you a bad person. That is an incredibly unhealthy attitude to have even when talking about shows. Do you know I'm a big fan of The Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai? Yeah, who could have seen that coming? Laura, apparently. My good friend has a couple complaints about this show as known as Bunny Girl Senpai. The main one we will be talking about today is her anger in relation to the sexualization of Mai, despite Mai being traumatized by being sexualized as a minor. Those are a couple words and saying sexualized at least twice. So to recap the plot once again, Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai is about this dude named Sakuto. He goes to a library to get his mentally ill sister's missing book and runs into a wild bunny girl there. The wild bunny girl happens to be his senpai, Shocker, from his school Minagahara, and also a famous actress who is currently on break. That's all the context you need for this, no more spoilers. The reason Mai Sakurajima, by the way, that's only book 1, not even the book 1, that's like page 4. The reason Mai Sakurajima is on break is because during her 3rd year of middle school, or junior high, I don't know, I don't go to school in Japan, the one before high school, her mother made her do a swimsuit shoot. This is despite the fact that Mai had specifically said she didn't want to do any swimsuit shoots. Reasonably, it makes sense for my friend to believe that Mai was traumatized by being sexualized and therefore didn't want to go back to acting because of that trauma. However, that is not how Mai is written, or still is, even now. Mai didn't want to do a swimsuit shoot because she didn't want to be sexualized. The reason she went on hiatus wasn't because of the swimsuit shoot. It was because her mum betrayed her and a specific request, a very direct request to not do swimsuit shoots, and she put her in that situation anyway. She's not traumatized by being sexualized, or she would be exactly like Futaba, you know, someone who was traumatized by being sexualized. Huh? You can't see my face, I just made a stupid face. Someone who hides her body as much as possible with the lab coat at all times. It also makes no sense for the author to write yet another story about a girl being upset about the sexualization of herself by the people around her. Mai, however, a lot of the times during the show uses her sexuality to her benefit, especially during the first book when she was just trying to find someone that will see her. She could have used any outfit, but she specifically chose the very idea of sexuality in the Playboy bunny outfit. You know, the metaphor for sexuality. The sexual thing. The bunny girl outfit, my god. Mai is not traumatized by being sexualized. She doesn't like it. She still doesn't accept the fact that it's like she doesn't see it in a positive light. She doesn't see it in a neutral light. She still sees it in a negative light. But she also has a mountain of negative emotions towards her mother for using her for her own gain. The mischaracterization to view something negatively is very harmful because the way it's presented makes people believe the things you are spouting because it sounds legit. This is why the importance of seeing it from multiple angles is very important. Yes, because the importance. Because, you know what, that's rude. Because Laura went unchecked in her analysis, because she likely didn't care enough to check what she believed, is not only bad, but inconsistent with her arc so far. Not Laura's. Obviously, she's a real person. Making the author seem doubly bad. But on the other side of things, the person who sexualized her was the main character, Sakata Azusagawa. This gets into the last topic, but his character is purposely crass and rude, and taking the context and importance of showing his unilateral crassness and immediately making it a bad thing is about as harmful as writing Mushoku Tensei off, because the main character is a bad guy. Sakata also improves in the later books. He is no longer as crass. It's his character arc. I would also like to point out that she only watched the anime, she didn't read the books. Obviously she doesn't like the series, so she didn't get to experience the Sakata that was as crass as I did with the books. Just wanted to point that out. These are all targeted options for a reason, because they are often the mistakes I see people committing online all the time, specifically on Twitter, to complain about things. They often complain about a character being a certain way, but they either mischaracterized them or took a very specific context out of the story. Or they like something but have to pretend they don't or downplay how much they enjoyed it because it's controversial. It's not an easy topic to talk about because it isn't likely to be solved very quickly as we get through the years of trial and error, and we have quite a bit of trial and error to go before it finally settles in the middle. Internet as a whole. Fucking Twitter is going to be like this forever. And these issues are always bound to show up due to someone's negligence or stupidity. This one. But the easiest way to deal with it is to counter where you can. Remember, if you enjoyed something and you feel icky about it, remember, it's likely not that deep, but to assess what it is that you are enjoying if you care that much. And if you were to view something that was wrong and you enjoyed it, then maybe you should seek help. Get a second opinion, or a third. And then if it's unanimous, then get help. But I haven't mentioned where this wave is right. Yes, Twitter may be stupid, but it's got its benefits sometimes. And it's related somewhat. Where this wave of morality goes right is when there's something morally wrong that is there for sick reasons, and they call it out. This can be shown by myself, completely ignoring the transformation scene of the youngest member of the evil magical girls from the Gushing Over Magical Girls. Because that, in the uncensored version, has nipple, and that girl is underage. Even in my country, you're not allowed to take nudes at the age of 16, bro, and she is definitely below that. She's not even in high school. She is young. This is wrong. There's no way to defend it, and I'm not even going to try, because I don't want to. I see it's wrong, okay? And I shun it. I don't advocate for the censorship of this show, however, because of the one bad thing. However, I will state that this is a bad scene, and you should watch the censored version because it's not at all a good thing. In the context of the show, it's not a good thing either, and was likely only done because the director wanted it to, right? Same thing happens with Ouran Host Club. Okay, before we go into this, in the manga, because I did read the manga, it's not the same. That's why I say the director, not the writer. Because the writer didn't do that. He didn't draw it in like that. But it was in the anime. So it was likely the director. Same happens with Ouran Host Club again. This is stated in explanation points video that I will link below, but the gist of it is that a character sexually assaults another under the guise that without him she cannot survive because the world is brutal. I haven't watched this show. But that act is bad and completely doesn't fit the show in any way, and it's a disgusting act that encouraged people to do that because it wasn't shown as bad in any way. In a similar vein, Berserk's later use of sexual assault as less of a dramatic character building element, which you can argue all day about, but as shock value is something you should have to call out to. And I've seen way more people call it out recently. I'm thankful for that. Even though he's dead and his story is great, you know, it never is not considered a bad thing. But the idea of something considered so horrendous, even by the book standard, is just used as shock value is not a good thing. Yet again, I do believe that either Berserk or Ouran Host Club should be banned. Nah. I believe, as a viewer, you have the moral obligation to find the bad things, take in the context of the character's stories and wonder if it was worth putting in. Then if it doesn't work, declare it as a bad thing and go on with your day enjoying the rest of the material. I don't even blame you if you should ban things that are full of that shit. I don't even believe you should ban things that are full of that shit, because censorship makes people weak. And censorship is wrong. Declare the whole thing is bad and leave it be. Let people watch it at their own discretion.